The first mark scraped away from the black throne foundation sounded like a tooth breaking under stone. Virelle Cask did not flinch. She had carved that mark 7 years ago with 3 burned fingers, a cracked chisel, and a lung full of black dust while dragonfire pressure rolled beneath the palace like a sleeping beast. It was no larger than the side of her thumb, 3 slanted cuts, 1 ember dot, and a hooked line that turned toward the throne. To royal eyes, it looked like damage. To builders with honest hands, it meant weight gathers here when fire rises. Master builder Rethan Brask called it ugly. "Scrape it clean," he ordered. 2 apprentice masons hesitated. They had seen Virelle's marks under half the palace. They knew which ones warned of heat pull, which ones named stone strain, which ones told a worker where not to stand when the throne awakened under dragon blood. But Rethan wore the white gold sash of royal construction, and the coronation court stood watching beneath black marble arches hung with crimson banners. So the apprentices bent their heads. Their iron scrapers bit into the foundation. The ember mark broke. A soft red glow bled from the cut stone and died. The watching nobles applauded politely, as if someone had removed a stain from a ceremonial robe. Virelle kept her hands folded before her. They were not pretty hands. The left wrist had healed crooked after a support beam dropped during the west vault reinforcement. Her knuckles were darkened by old burns. Her nails were cut short and rimmed with ground basalt no soap could fully remove. Across 3 fingers, thin ember scars crossed the skin where the foundation had once spat dragon heat through a crack no lord had believed existed until she sealed it. Those hands had held the palace upright, while kings slept above. Now the court looked at them as if they were the shame. Rethan turned toward the throne dais. "Your Majesty, the last worker scratches will be removed before the coronation flame is brought in. The black throne foundation will stand clean, seamless, and worthy of royal beauty." Dragon King Erovan Kharveth sat above them on the unfinished coronation throne. Black stone rose behind him in 7 jagged spines. Bronze dragon ribs curved along the dais. Beneath his boots, the foundation stones had been polished so deeply they reflected his crown like dark water. Erovan himself looked carved from storm and fire, tall, broad-shouldered, severe, with black hair bound at the nape in a warrior's knot and eyes the color of molten gold held under glass. A burn scar ran from his throat beneath the collar of his armor, disappearing under black dragon scale plates. His face did not soften. "Master Brask's report says the marks are unnecessary," he said. "The foundation has passed inspection." Virelle felt the words more sharply than the scraper. Passed inspection. Not endured pressure. Not absorbed dragonfire. Not kept the throne from splitting the palace ribs. Passed inspection by men who stood in clean boots over stone they had never listened to. Rethan inclined his head. The crown cannot be seated upon a worker's superstition. A few nobles smiled. Virelle looked at the foundation beneath the throne. It was too smooth now. That was what frightened her. Stone that carried dragonfire should never look flawless. It needed places to breathe, marks to guide pressure. Ember cuts to tell heat where to bend instead of break. Her marks had not decorated the foundation. They had taught it how to survive the king. Erovan's golden eyes moved to her at last. "Virelle Cask," he said. The court turned. Her name sounded wrong in the royal hall, too rough for all that polished black stone. She bowed because the oath on her wrist required it. "Majesty, you object to the removal." Rethan's mouth tightened before she answered. Virelle saw the warning in it. "Stay silent. Let the palace become beautiful. Let the builders who signed the reports own what your hands kept hidden." She looked up. "I object to scraping away stress marks before the coronation flame is tested." A noblewoman near the dais laughed softly. "Stress marks? Is that what workers call scratches now?" Virelle did not look at her. Erovan did. Only briefly. Enough to stop the next laugh. Rethan stepped forward. "Majesty, ember mason marks were used in old foundation craft before modern binding methods. They are no longer required. Leaving them visible suggests instability. Removing them creates it," Virelle said. The hall quieted. Rethan smiled with all his teeth hidden. A servant mason correcting the master builder before the Dragon King. Brave. "No," Virelle said, tired. Something changed in Erovan's expression. Not trust. Attention. The black stones beneath the throne gave a small warmth through the soles of Virelle's boots. She felt it rise, then shift sideways, searching for the marks that were no longer there. Her spine tightened. "Stop scraping," she said. Rethan's smile vanished. "The order stands." The apprentices looked between them. Erovan watched Virelle, unreadable. Virelle knew that look. Kings loved certainty. Men like Rethan sold it in polished reports. Workers like her arrived with dust, warnings, and hands too scarred to be persuasive. "Majesty," she said, "the Black Throne Foundation is not ordinary stone. It carries dragonfire pressure from your bloodline every time the throne accepts a crowned flame. The marks do not weaken it, they direct it." Rethan cut in. "Old craft panic." Virelle turned to him. "Then stand under the west rib when the flame rises." The apprentices went still. Rethan's eyes hardened. Erovan leaned forward slightly. "What happens beneath the west rib?" Virelle looked at the black arch above them. "If the foundation cannot breathe, the wall will move away from pressure." A captain scoffed. "Walls do not move." Virelle felt the heat underfoot gather again. This time it did not search. It pushed. A sound moved through the palace. Low, deep, wrong. Every candle along the throne hall bent sideways, though no wind had entered. The final ember mark, half scraped from the foundation, pulsed red beneath the apprentice's blade. Then it returned, not as a cut, as a crack. Red light split through the polished stone, following the shape of Virelle's erased mark with furious precision. 3 slanted wounds, 1 ember dot, 1 hooked line turning toward the throne. The court stopped breathing. Another erased mark burned back through the foundation beside it. Then another. Across the Black Throne Foundation, hidden ember mason marks returned as red cracks, one by one, glowing beneath the polished surface the court had demanded. Rethan whispered, "That is not possible." Virelle looked at the wall behind the throne. The black palace stones bowed outward, not collapsing, refusing. The wall bent away from the throne, as if the seat of Dragon Kings had become something the palace no longer wished to hold. Erovan stood. His dragon shadow rose behind him, vast and horned across the black marble. But even that shadow twisted when the wall moved. The throne dais cracked beneath his right boot. Virelle stepped forward before anyone ordered her back. "Not toward the king, toward the lower stair. There are workers beneath the foundation," she said. Rethan grabbed her arm. "Do not move." The stone under the throne groaned again. Virelle looked at his hand on her sleeve, then at the Dragon King. "Your Majesty," she said, voice steady though the floor had begun to tremble. "If the lower crews are not evacuated now, the palace will bury the hands that know how to save it." Erovan's golden eyes dropped to Rethan's grip on her arm. His voice was quiet. "Release her." Rethan did. Virelle pulled free and turned toward the foundation stair. Behind her, one red warning burned across the polished black stone where her marks had been scraped away. The Black Throne Foundation was held by ember mason marks before royal beauty scraped them clean. The Dragon King looked from the bending palace wall to Virelle's scarred hands. His voice did not soften. "What was my throne sitting on?" Rethan Brask answered before the bending palace wall could make the court kneel. "Old craft reaction," he said. His voice carried cleanly through the throne hall, even as red cracks burned across the Black Throne Foundation and the western wall bowed away from the dais-like stone, refusing a lie. The nobles looked at him because they wanted certainty more than truth. Certainty wore white gold builder silk. Truth stood near the foundation stair with black dust under her nails and burned hands. Virelle Cask did not move toward the king. She moved toward the workers beneath him. Dragon King Erovan Kharveth stood on the cracked throne dais. His dragon shadow spread behind him in a vast, horned shape that twisted every time the wall bent. His molten gold eyes had not left. The red warning burned across the polished black stone. The Black Throne Foundation was held by ember mason marks before royal beauty scraped them clean. His face did not soften. "What was my throne sitting on?" he asked again. Rethan bowed. "A stable foundation, Majesty. Ember mason marks are old craft supports, not structural law. Their return proves only that the scraping disturbed heat memory in the stone." Virelle looked back from the stair. Heat memory does not bend walls away from a throne. Rethan's eyes cut toward her. A servant mason is not qualified to interpret Royal Foundation response. No, Virelle said, only to survive it. The apprentice masons nearest the half-scraped marks lowered their eyes. They knew. Not all of it. Not yet. But they knew enough to be afraid. Erovan looked at Virelle. Read the foundation. She turned fully then. Not softly. Not gratefully. He had trusted Rethan's clean report. He had permitted her marks to be scraped for royal beauty. He had listened only after the palace began bending away from his own throne. You ask because the wall moved, she said. Not because the workers under it breathed dust for 7 years. His jaw tightened. He did not apologize. Good. An apology would not hold the west rib. Virelle stepped to the nearest red crack and knelt, placing 2 burned fingers beside the mark but not over it. Ember mason marks were not obedient servants. Scraped open, they did not explain everything at once. They showed pressure in the order stone, could survive revealing it. The marks cannot name fraud, she said. They cannot accuse a builder by wish or bless a throne by fear. They read pressure, where it was cut, where it strained, where it was sent after men decided clean stone mattered more than breathing stone. Rethan smiled thinly. Then, let the old scratches speak. Virelle ignored him. The red crack warmed beside her fingers. Pressure cut, she said. The half-scraped mark flared. A black line appeared where the iron scraper had bitten too deep, severing the ember channel that once carried dragonfire away from the dais. The court murmured. Virelle moved her hand toward the wall. West rib strain. The bronze dragon rib arching behind the throne groaned. Red light climbed its underside, revealing hidden heat bruises beneath polished metal. Erovan's dragon shadow snarled without sound. Rethan said, old settling. The west rib was reinforced. Virelle looked at the arch. Then why does reinforcement hide under paint? Silence took the room. She rose and walked to the foundation stair. Heat breathed up from below, carrying ash, sweat, and the faint metallic scent of tools dropped in panic. Lower crew stair, she said. The first step glowed, then the second, then the third, all the way down into darkness beneath the throne hall. A low shout rose from below. Not royal. Worker. Virelle's face tightened. Erovan heard it too. How many are beneath the foundation? Rethan answered quickly. A finishing crew only. They were ordered to smooth the lower vault seams before coronation. Virelle turned on him. While the upper marks were being scraped? The work was scheduled. The pressure was gathering. Rethan's face hardened. You speak as though stone obeys panic. A clean foundation is not safe if it hides where the fire is going. The sentence struck the hall harder than the walls groan. Erovan looked down at the cracks around his boots. For the first time, Virelle saw something behind the king's severity that was not pride, fear. Not for himself alone, for what his throne might be doing to the unseen people beneath it. Still, he did not soften. Continue, he said. Virelle pressed her burned fingers against the stair wall. Pain shot up her wrist as the ember marks answered her skin. She kept her voice steady. Erased mark sequence. Across the black throne foundation, it ran from the dais to the west rib, from the west rib to the lower stair, from the stair down toward the worker vault. The line should have ended in a pressure sink beneath the north pier. It did not. It vanished beneath the floor. Virelle's blood went cold. Rethan saw her expression. What? She looked at the polished foundation. Dragonfire root. The palace answered. Red light rushed beneath the stone in a crooked path, revealing where fire pressure from the throne should have been guided into old ember channels, but the channels had been blocked. The true route bent away from the royal sink and downward toward the vault where the lower crew had been sent. The worker shout below became several voices. Erovan stepped off the dais. The cracks followed his weight but did not close. Rethan moved between him and the stair. Majesty, descending now, would endanger the coronation line. Virelle looked at him. The coronation line is standing on their lungs. Rethan's mouth tightened. Enough. No? Erovan said. The word filled the hall with dragon heat. Rethan stopped. Virelle turned toward the stair. Get the lower crews out, now. No royal family, no nobles, workers first. Several captains hesitated. Erovan's eyes burned brighter. You heard her. This time, they moved. Guards and apprentice masons rushed down the glowing stair. The palace shuddered above them. Dust fell from the west rib in fine black rain. The red cracks kept burning, not repairing, not explaining beyond what the foundation could bear. Virelle stood at the stair mouth and counted the first workers as they climbed out, coughing, faces gray with dust, hands blistered from heated tools. One apprentice carried another across his shoulder. A woman with blood on her temple clutched a broken level rod. None of them looked at the throne first. They looked at Virelle. She did not let that break her. Not yet. Behind her, the ember marks dragged one final line across the polished floor, from the blocked dragonfire route to the lower crew stair. Then the warning burned red through the black throne foundation. Coronation pressure was redirected into the worker vault before the marks were erased. Erovan looked from the coughing workers to Rethan Brask. His voice did not soften. Who redirected my coronation pressure into the worker vault? Rethan Brask looked toward the coughing workers before he looked at the dragonfire route. That was his mistake. Virelle Cask saw it because she had spent half her life learning where important men looked first when stone began telling truth. Honest builders looked at the crack. Frightened builders looked at the weight above it. Guilty builders looked at the people who had survived what they were not meant to explain. The lower crew kept climbing from the foundation stair one after another, gray with dust, coughing black into their sleeves. Heat breathed behind them from the worker vault beneath the black throne. Above, the western wall still bowed outward, not breaking, not obeying, only refusing to lean toward a throne whose pressure had been sent into the lungs of laborers. Dragon King Erovan Kharveth stood between the cracked dais and the stair. His dragon shadow spread across the polished floor in a horned shape that twitched with each groan of stone. His voice did not soften. Who redirected my coronation pressure into the worker vault? Rethan bowed. No one redirected it, Majesty. The worker vault was designated as a temporary safety chamber during final preparations. It is reinforced, ventilated, and suitable for lower crew staging. Virelle turned from the workers she was counting. You do not call a chamber safe after sending fire there first. The court went quiet. Rethan's eyes cooled. You mistake sequence for intent. No, Virelle said. I know the difference between a room built to shelter hands and a room used to swallow heat. Erovan looked at her. Can the marks prove the order? She did not soften toward him. Not after he had permitted the scraping. Not after he had let Rethan name worker marks ugly in front of nobles who had never carried stone. Not after his throne had nearly crushed the people beneath it before he asked what was under his own feet. You ask because workers came out coughing, she said. Not because the vault was ever safe enough for them. His jaw tightened. He did not apologize. Good. Virelle did not need softness while the foundation still burned. She knelt beside the red ember route cutting across the polished floor. The marks had dimmed from bright warning to a pulsing ember line. They were not servants. They would not solve the crime neatly because a king now wanted answers. Ember mason marks remembered pressure, sequence, and touch. They did not read hearts. The marks cannot name motive, she said. They can show what was ordered before stone obeyed. Rethan folded his hands. Then show it. Virelle placed 2 burned fingers near the stair mark. Worker vault order. The stair glowed red. Then a thin, rectangular shape appeared in the air above it. Not paper, not parchment, but heat memory. Lines of ashlight formed where a work order had once been held against damp stone before being carried below. The first words were blurred. The seal was not. A square builder mark pressed into the corner, white gold in shape, red in memory. Rethan said, All lower work passes under my office. That is ordinary. Ordinary does not mean innocent, Virelle said. She moved her fingers toward the foundation's north side. Blocked pressure sink. The floor answered with a deep red pulse. Beneath the polished stone, the old pressure sink appeared as a circular channel of ember lines meant to receive dragonfire from the throne and pull it harmlessly into black stone ribs below the palace. But the channel did not glow clean. Its mouth was sealed with a dull gray patch. Not old stone. Not natural stress. A plug. Erovan's dragon shadow lowered its head toward the blocked sink. Rethan's voice remained smooth. The north sink was capped during modernization. Old channels leak heat. Virelle looked at him. Old channels breathe heat. Capped channels send it hunting. The western wall groaned again, and dust drifted from the bronze dragon rib above the throne. Virelle Ridon. Lower crew schedule. The ember memory shifted from the blocked pressure sink to a row of red marks along the foundation stair. Time notches appeared, one by one. Before dawn, first bell, second bell, crown hour. The lower crew had been ordered into the vault before the coronation flame trial, then held there while the upper marks were scraped clean. One of the rescued workers lifted his head. We were told the test had passed. Rethan turned sharply. You were told to finish your seam. Virelle looked at the worker. Who told you the test passed? He swallowed. Builder office runner, white sash, said the throne had been cleared. Rethan's face hardened. Workers mishear under pressure. They hear better than nobles, Virelle said. Their lives depend on it. Erovan did not look away from the schedule marks. Continue. Virelle touched the glowing work order. Builder seal. The square seal sharpened. It showed Rethan's office mark, a tower frame, a measuring line, and a crowned stone. The seal burned bright, then dragged a red line from the work order to the capped pressure sink, then from the capped sink to the worker vault. Rethan said, My seal approves thousands of construction documents. This one answered dragonfire. Virelle pressed her fingers to the final route. Dragonfire route. The palace revealed it again, but clearer now. Heat should have traveled from the black throne into the north pressure sink. Instead, it struck the blocked cap, turned west under the bronze rib, dropped through the lower crew stair, and pooled beneath the worker vault where men and women had been sent to smooth seams with tools in their hands. Erovan stared at the route. For one moment, the molten gold in his eyes looked less like power than horror held under discipline. Still, his voice remained hard. Was the coronation pressure test completed before that order was issued? Virelle looked at the ember marks. They trembled, not because they did not know, because showing the answer meant pulling memory through stone that had been scraped raw. She placed her burned palm flat against the floor. Pain flashed white through her wrist. The work order brightened. The schedule marks burned. The blocked sink pulsed. The builder seal flared like a brand. Then the order of it appeared. Worker vault order. Builder seal. Lower crew schedule. Blocked pressure sink. Coronation pressure test incomplete. Dragonfire route redirected. The court watched the sequence form in red light across the black throne foundation. Rethan's mouth tightened. Incomplete does not mean unsafe. Virelle lifted her head. Then why were the marks removed before it could answer? He said nothing. Not confession. Not yet. But silence had weight too. The ember marks dragged one final line from the sealed work order to the coughing workers gathered beside the stair. Red fire wrote itself through the polished black stone where the court could not look away. Worker vault order signed before coronation pressure test was completed. Erovan looked from the burning builder seal to Rethan Brask. His voice did not soften. Who signed workers under my throne before my flame was proven safe? Rethan Brask touched the white gold sash at his chest as if cloth could become proof. Around him, the black throne foundation still burned with red ember sequence. Worker vault order, builder seal, lower crew schedule, blocked pressure sink, incomplete flame test, dragonfire route redirected. Workers coughed near the foundation stair, with dust on their faces and heat blisters across their hands. The western wall remained bowed away from the throne, holding itself in a shape no architect had drawn. Dragon King Erovan Kharveth stood on the cracked foundation floor. His dragon shadow stretched behind him like a horned storm waiting for permission to strike. Who signed workers under my throne before my flame was proven safe? He asked. Rethan bowed. The builder office signs lower assignments, Majesty. A seal does not always mark the hand that pressed it. Virelle Cask looked at him. Convenient. His eyes cut toward her. Accurate. No, she said. Protected. A few nobles shifted at that. Erovan looked from the burning builder seal to Virelle's scorched hands. Can the foundation show the hand? Virelle did not soften. Not because she did not see the danger tightening in him. Not because she did not hear the workers breathing behind her. But because kings always wanted proof shaped like a blade only after approving the hand that sharpened it. You ask for a hand now, she said, because the seal burned in front of you, not because workers were sent below before the flame was safe. His jaw tightened. He did not apologize. Good. Apology was not a support beam. Virelle knelt near the blocked pressure sink. The old north channel should have breathed faint heat into the underribs of the palace. Instead, it sat under polished black stone like a covered mouth. The marks cannot name every clerk, she said. They can read tool pressure, seal heat, stone substitution, and where dragonfire was forced to turn. Rethan folded his hands. Stone substitution? The question came too quickly. Virelle heard it. So did Erovan. The ember mark nearest the pressure sink pulsed once. Virelle placed 2 fingers beside it. Seal heat. The square builder mark flared again, white gold at the edges and red at the center. A heat memory rose above the stone. Wax warmed over a brazier, seal pressed hard, paper folded while the order was still damp. Tool pressure. A thin line appeared beneath the seal memory, shaped not like a mason's chisel but like the flat edge of a finishing scraper. It dragged across the old sink mouth after the cap had been set. Rethan said, "Finishing tools are used on every visible foundation surface. Not inside a pressure channel." He did not answer. Virelle moved her hand along the red root. Blocked sink cap. The dull gray patch over the north pressure sink brightened. Its edges glowed in a perfect circle. Too clean, too smooth, too polite. Original foundation stone never fit politely. It locked into weight with rough teeth and deep seams. This cap sat, like a coin, placed over a dead eye. Erovan stared at it. "Remove it." Rethan stepped forward. "Majesty, opening a pressure sink during active foundation response could destabilize the throne hall." Virelle looked up. "It is already destabilized. The cap is why. An unlicensed servant mason should not advise royal demolition." "No," she said. "She should not have to." The western wall groaned again. A red crack ran higher behind the throne, splitting the polished black surface and revealing one of Virelle's old ember marks under the shine. It burned briefly, then dimmed, as if warning cost more than the palace wished to spend. Erovan looked at the nearest guard. "Bring a core hook." Rethan's face did not change. That was worse. A core hook was fetched from the lower crew's tools, black iron, curved, scarred by heat. Virelle took it before any court builder could touch the sink. Her left wrist ached as she set the hook into the cap seam. The tool's weight remembered workers better than it remembered nobles. The first pull did nothing. The second made the cap hiss. The third opened a hairline gap, and dragon heat breathed out wrong. Not deep, not steady, hollow. A low moan moved beneath the floor. Every worker near the stair went still. Virelle's fingers tightened on the hook. That sound should not be in foundation stone. Rethan said, "Air pockets occur during old casting." Virelle turned her head slowly. This palace was not cast, it was seated. The distinction silenced the apprentices. Seated stone meant each block had been fitted under weight until it accepted the next. Hollow stone meant someone had made a shape that looked strong from outside and empty within. Erovan's dragon shadow lowered over the cap. "Read it." Virelle almost laughed, not from humor, from exhaustion. "The marks are nearly spent," she said. "They have shown worker order, blocked route, and redirected pressure. They will not open every lie because a throne finally cares what holds it." Erovan's expression tightened. Still, he did not apologize. "Good." She pressed her burned palm against the glowing cap. Pain flashed red behind her eyes. Stone substitution. The cap's surface flared. Under the polished black outer layer, a second memory appeared. A pale inner core, porous and weak, packed with ash filler and glazed over with black finish. Not black throne stone. Not royal foundation stone. Hollow coronation stone. The court made a sound like breath breaking. Rethan's voice cut through it. "Decorative upper cap. Not load-bearing." Virelle held the core hook in place. "Then why did the dragonfire route strike it first?" The ember marks answered before he could. Red light ran from the throne dais to the blocked sink, struck the hollow cap, scattered sideways to the west rib, then dropped toward the worker vault stair. The route repeated once, then again, harder each time, until everyone could see the fire had not wandered. It had been deflected. Erovan looked at the hollow cap. "Who approved this stone?" Rethan bowed. "Procurement passes through quarry office, builder office, and crown inspection." Virelle looked at the cap's glowing core. "Then bring the inspection report." A steward ran. The palace waited. The report arrived wrapped in black silk, sealed with royal inspection wax, and stamped with the builder office mark. Erovan broke it himself and laid it beside the glowing cap. Virelle touched the ember thread of the pressure mark to the report. Final inspection. The wax flared. North sink listed solid. The written line burned red. Cap already seated. The hollow stone hissed beneath the floor. Dragonfire test incomplete. The earlier sequence answered from the foundation stair. Worker vault order signed. The coughing workers looked at one another. Virelle lifted her hand before the pain could take her voice. The ember marks dragged a final line from the hollow cap to the inspection report, then to Rethan's white gold sash. Red fire wrote across the polished floor. The north pressure sink was marked solid after hollow coronation stone had capped its mouth. Rethan Brask went still. Erovan looked from the false stone to the master builder. His voice did not soften. How much of my throne was built to look solid? The hollow cap kept breathing after the warning faded. Not like living lungs. Like a lie with heat trapped inside it. A thin red pulse moved beneath the polished black stone of the throne hall, traveling from the capped north pressure sink to the cracked dais where Dragon King Erovan Kharveth had stood for every oath, every judgment, every promise made beneath the bronze dragon ribs of his palace. Master builder, Rethan Brask, did not look at the cap now. He looked at the report. Reports could be explained. Stone could not. The north sink cap was cosmetic reinforcement, he said. The core beneath it may contain void pockets, but the throne dais itself was seated on royal-grade black throne stone. Virelle Cask stood beside the open pressure sink, with the core hook still in her burned hand. Her wrist shook. She made it stop. The rescued workers watched from the foundation stair, faces gray with dust, blistered hands pressed to their chests. The nobles watched from safer distance, no longer smiling, no longer certain whether beauty had been polish or disguise. Erovan's dragon shadow stretched behind him, horned and vast, bending toward the hollow cap as if it wanted to tear the palace open by instinct alone. His voice did not soften. How much of my throne was built to look solid? Rethan bowed. The throne is solid, Majesty. The foundation response is localized. Virelle looked at the red pulse running under the dais. Then why is the lie traveling? Rethan's mouth tightened. Stone carries vibration. Dragonfire carries truth where stone has been forced to pretend. The court went still. Erovan looked at her, read the dais. She did not soften toward him. He had asked for the foundation after accepting a clean report. He had asked for worker orders after workers came out choking. He asked for the dais now because the hollow stone had breathed beneath his own throne. You ask because the hollow cap answered your crown, she said. Not because my marks warned the dais before you ordered them scraped. His jaw tightened. No apology came. Good. Virelle did not need one. She needed the palace to keep standing long enough for everyone beneath it to live. She knelt near the first red crack crossing the throne dais. The ember mason marks had thinned to dim fire under the polish. They had shown too much already. Each reveal cost pressure. Each pressure lost made the west rib bow another finger width from the throne. The marks cannot measure every stone, she said. They read strain, root, contact, and where fire bends when weight lies. Rethan folded his hands. Then let them distinguish between structural stone and surface dressing. Virelle touched the crack. Dais, load line. A red path formed beneath the throne steps, tracing where weight from the dragon throne should have passed down into deep black stone ribs. The line began cleanly, then faltered. Foundation ring. The light widened into a circle under the dais. The court saw it at the same time Virelle did. Not one hollow cap. A ring. A full hidden ring of coronation stone beneath the throne platform, polished black above, pale and porous below, placed where ancient black throne stone should have carried dragonfire and crown weight into the earth. One apprentice mason whispered, "That is not seeded stone." Rethan snapped, "Silence." Virelle looked at the apprentice. "Say it again." The young man swallowed. "It is not seeded stone." Another worker lifted her head. "It is shell stone." Rethan's eyes flashed. Untrained panic. Virelle's voice stayed low. Shell stone is used for temporary arch covers, decorative ribs, festival gates. Not throne foundations, the worker said. The sentence moved through the hall like a crack finding air. Erovan looked at the glowing ring beneath his dais. Who brought shellstone into my foundation? Rethan answered too smoothly. No shellstone was approved. Virelle touched the red line again. Approval is not the same as arrival. The ember marks flared. Surface polish. The top layer of the dais shone black and perfect. Shell core. Under it, the pale, hollow body appeared in red memory, thin walls around empty pockets. Dragonfire contact. The root from the throne struck the shell ring and scattered. Ember marks absorbing strain. Virelle's old marks began to glow around the ring, not as scratches now, but as red braces carved at intervals where the shellstone should have cracked years ago. The court stared. Virelle felt the weight of it in her chest. Her marks had not only directed pressure, they had compensated for fraud. For years, while royal builders praised clean lines and nobles walked across polished floors, her ugly worker cuts had taken dragonfire into themselves, spreading strain from hollow stone so slowly that no one above would feel the palace weakening. Those hands had held the palace upright while kings slept above. Erevan's gaze moved to her scarred fingers. Something changed in him, not softness, recognition with teeth. Rethan saw it and spoke quickly. If her marks absorbed strain, then they concealed the defect from inspection. Virelle laughed once. Bitter. Workers do not conceal collapse by keeping people alive. You carved unauthorized marks into royal foundation stone. I carved warnings into a throne that was sitting on a hollow ring. The law does not permit servant masons to alter coronation stone. The law apparently permitted master builders to hollow it. Rethan's face hardened. Erovan raised one hand. Silence fell. Continue, he said. Virelle pressed her palm fully against the glowing ring. Pain went through her, deep and immediate. The ember scars across her fingers opened with red light, and the hidden marks around the dais answered her blood more strongly than they had answered the tools. The workers saw. So did Rethan. His face changed for half a breath. Fear. Then it was gone. Virelle pulled her hand back before the court could understand too much. Not yet. Let them see the stone first. Inspection path, she said. The red ring sent a line toward the final report Erovan had opened. Report listed royal grade blackstone. The report burned at that line. Foundation ring seated after lower crew dismissed. A new sequence appeared. Workers sent away. Royal builder crew entered. Shellstone lowered. Polish applied. Virelle's marks later cut into stress points after heat began to gather. Rethan said, memory distortion. The marks are reacting to her blood. Virelle looked at him. Stone does not become honest because it likes me. The foundation groaned. The red ring beneath the throne flared, then dimmed at 3 places where her scraped-away marks had once held the worst strain. The western wall bowed farther from the dais. Erovan turned toward the throne. For the first time, he looked at it not as a seat of power, but as a danger placed above people. The ember marks dragged one final line from the hollow ring to the scraped marks, then to the inspection report bearing Rethan's builder office seal. Red fire wrote through the black throne foundation. The black throne dais sat on a hollow coronation stone ring that Virelle's ember marks had been absorbing for 7 years. Rethan Brask went still. Erovan looked from the hollow ring to Virelle's bleeding fingers. His voice did not soften. Why did my master builder need your ugly marks to keep his beautiful throne standing? Rethan Brask looked at Virelle's bleeding fingers as if he had finally found the shape of his defense. Not in stone, in blame. The black throne dais glowed beneath them with a hidden, hollow coronation ring. Red ember light showing where shellstone had been polished black and seated under the throne like truth disguised as strength. Around that false ring, Virelle's old mason marks burned at intervals. Thin, ugly, precise, absorbing strain that should have shattered the foundation years ago. Dragon King Erovan Kharveth stood before the cracked dais with his dragon shadow spread behind him, vast and horned, its edges twitching each time the western wall bowed farther from the throne. His voice did not soften. Why did my master builder need your ugly marks to keep his beautiful throne standing? Rethan turned to the court. Because she concealed the fault, he said. The words moved quickly, cleanly, like mortar poured over a grave. Several nobles looked at Virelle. Of course they did. Power preferred a dirty worker to a dirty throne. Virelle did not lower her hands. Rethan pointed toward the glowing ring. If hollow stone truly lies beneath the dais, then her unauthorized marks masked the defect from inspection. She altered royal foundation response without permission. She hid instability beneath old craft superstition. One of the court builders nodded too fast. The apprentices near the stair did not. They knew the difference between hiding a crack and holding it open long enough for others to see. Erovan's golden eyes moved to Virelle, waiting, not accusing, not trusting, still waiting for proof from the woman he had permitted them to erase. She looked at him with the heat of the foundation burning through the soles of her boots. "You ask why he needed my marks now," she said, "not why my warnings were never brought to you before they scraped them away." His jaw tightened. He did not apologize. Good. The palace did not need remorse. It needed weight placed where it belonged. Virelle knelt beside the nearest ember mark. The glow under the stone had thinned from red fire to deep coal. The marks had shown the hollow ring, the blocked pressure sink, the worker vault order, and the redirected coronation pressure. They would not keep bleeding truth forever. Every reveal cost the foundation one more breath. "The marks cannot defend me," she said. "They cannot decide whether your court prefers a master builder's silk to a worker's scars. They can show sequence." Rethan folded his hands. "Then let sequence clear the crown's records." Virelle placed 2 burned fingers on the mark. First strain. A red pulse ran under the hollow ring, showing where dragonfire first struck shellstone 7 years before. First brace. One of her old cuts answered, glowing brighter. Filed warning. A thin, ash-red rectangle appeared above the floor. A foundation note, rough-edged, marked with soot from a worker's thumb. The court could not read all of it, but Virelle could. She had written it after midnight, with her wrist still swollen from holding the west vault beam. Shell resonance beneath throne dais. Unknown substitute stone. Ember bracing temporary. Master review required. Rethan's face did not change. That was answer enough. Erovan looked at the floating warning. Who received it? Virelle touched the next ember line. Builder office intake. A second memory appeared. The warning folded, stamped, and placed beneath a stack of clean reports. A clerk's hand moved it aside. Not destroyed. Worse. Buried. Rethan said, "Builder offices receive hundreds of worker notices. Many are speculative." Virelle looked up. "Then why was mine sealed under restricted review?" The ash-red warning flared. A white gold builder seal appeared over it. Rethan's seal. The workers by the stair murmured. Virelle ridon. Second strain. The west rib mark glowed. Second warning. Another ash-red note appeared. Third strain. The north pressure sink pulsed. Third warning. A third note rose beside the others. 3 warnings. All written before the beauty report. All carrying Virelle's worker mark. All sealed by the builder office and never sent to crown inspection. Rethan's voice sharpened. "A sealed review is not suppression." "No," Virelle said, "but the next mark is." She pressed her palm to the floor. Pain snapped up her arm. "Beauty report." The polished black foundation answered with a cold red sheen. A clean royal document appeared in memory. Smooth parchment, white gold trim, stamped for coronation preparation. Worker marks classified as visual damage. Foundation passed for royal appearance. Scraping recommended, before flame procession. The court went silent. Erovan stared at the words. Virelle looked at him. Passed inspection, not endured pressure. The sentence returned to the hall like a stone dropped down a deep shaft. Rethan stepped forward. The report addressed visible surface conditions, not deep foundation craft. Virelle's voice stayed level. It recommended scraping the only marks absorbing the deep foundation fault. Because your marks concealed that fault. My marks named it 3 times. The ember marks dragged red lines between the 3 buried warnings and the polished beauty report. The sequence formed clearly across the Black Throne Foundation. First warning filed. Builder office seal. Second warning filed. Builder office seal. Third warning filed. Builder office seal. Beauty report approved. Worker marks classified as damage. Scraping ordered. Hollow ring exposed only after marks removed. The western wall groaned again. A shard of black polish broke from behind the throne and shattered near the dais steps. Erovan did not move. His dragon shadow did. It curled toward Rethan like smoke remembering fire. Rethan's mouth thinned. This proves poor document handling, not fraud. Virelle looked at the hollow ring glowing beneath the throne. Poor document handling does not build with shellstone. The ember marks rose one final time from the floor, drawing all 3 buried warnings into a red circle around the beauty report. Then fire wrote itself across the polished foundation where every noble could read it. Virelle's hollow ring warnings were sealed before the beauty report classified her ember mason marks as damage. Rethan Brask went still. Erovan looked from the buried warnings to the master builder's white gold sash. His voice did not soften. Who buried the warnings that would have stopped my coronation throne from being scraped clean? Rethan Brask let the shattered black polish settle before he answered. That was another kind of calculation. Even falling stone could be useful if it gave a guilty man time to choose the cleanest lie. Across the Black Throne Foundation, Virelle Cask's buried warnings still burned red around the polished beauty report. 3 worker notes, 3 builder office seals. One recommendation that called ember mason marks visual damage and ordered them scraped before coronation. Behind the throne, the western wall remained bent away from the dais, holding its refusal in black stone and dust. Dragon King Erovan Kharveth did not look at the wall now. He looked at Rethan. Who buried the warnings that would have stopped my coronation throne from being scraped clean? Rethan bowed. Majesty, restricted review is not burial. Worker reports involving old craft are separated from crown inspection until builder experts can verify them. Virelle looked at the 3 ash-red notes hovering above the floor. Builder experts. Rethan's eyes moved to her. Yes, those trained to distinguish structural law from panic scratched into stone. A few nobles seemed relieved by the phrase, panic scratched into stone. It sounded smaller than warnings, smaller than workers coughing dragonfire dust from their lungs, smaller than a hollow coronation ring glowing beneath the throne. Virelle let the insult stand. Stone did not care what men called the marks that saved them. Erovan's golden eyes shifted to her. Can the foundation show where the warnings went? She did not soften toward him, not after his court had called her marks damage, not after his report had worn royal approval over worker erasure, not after he asked for paths only because the path had led back toward his throne. You ask where they went now, she said, because they did not reach you. His jaw tightened. He did not apologize. Good. An apology would not reopen a sealed archive. Virelle knelt beside the first buried warning. The ember marks around it pulsed low, like coals beneath ash. They were weakening. The palace was spending old memory to expose new danger, and each red line meant less strength left inside the foundation. The marks cannot read every corridor of paper, she said. They can read heat, touch, seal pressure, archive weight, and which door a warning died behind. Rethan smiled thinly. Then ask the floor to become a clerk. No, Virelle said. I am asking it to remember being ignored. She placed 2 burned fingers against the first warning. Filed warning. The ash-red note flared. Builder intake. A clerk's hand appeared in heat memory, taking the note from Virelle's younger self, whose wrist was wrapped and swollen from West Vault labor. Restricted review. The note folded into darkness. Foundation archive. A red line ran from the floating note across the floor toward the eastern side of the throne hall, where a sealed black door stood beneath carved dragon scales. One of the older workers whispered, "Lower archive." Rethan turned. Silence. Virelle looked toward the door. Warnings go there when the builder office wants them alive enough to deny destroying them and dead enough to keep them from kings. The court went still. Erovan looked at the sealed door. Open it. Rethan stepped forward. Majesty, Foundation archives are dangerous during active stone response. Removing documents from their stored order may compromise. Open it. This time, the command carried dragon heat. A steward rushed to the black archive door with a ring of keys. None fit. Rethan said, "The archive requires builder clearance." Erovan held out one hand. Rethan hesitated. Only a heartbeat. Enough. He removed a narrow white gold key from inside his sash and placed it in the steward's palm. The key opened the lower archive door with a soft click. Virelle heard 3 workers behind her. Inhale sharply. That sound mattered. They knew doors, they knew locks, they knew which rooms were made private because truth had been stored inside. The archive smelled of cold ash, sealed vellum, and stone dust. Shelves lined the walls from floor to arch, each drawer marked with foundation sectors: north sink, west rib, throne dais, lower vault, worker notices, old craft review. Rethan's voice was calm again. As you see, Majesty, nothing has been buried. It has been preserved. Virelle stood slowly. Preserved is what powerful men call a body before they admit it is dead. Erovan's dragon shadow moved behind her, vast and silent, not touching, not protecting gently, blocking the nobles from pressing closer. She noticed. She did not thank him. The ember marks dragged red light into the archive, not bright enough to flood it, only enough to show where pressure clung to records. 3 drawers answered at once. Worker notices. Old craft review. Royale inspection omission. Virelle touched the first drawer. It opened by itself. Inside lay her warnings, soot-edged and folded beneath a white gold strip stamped with Rethan's private foundation seal. Not the common builder office seal. Private. Rethan said, private seals are used for sensitive review. Virelle touched the strip. Sensitive to whom? The seal burned red. The second drawer opened. More copies. Her warnings, rewritten in clean language by a clerk's hand. Worker concern regarding non-standard acoustic response. Old craft markings, observed in unauthorized pattern. No immediate action required. The third drawer opened. Royale inspection omission. There, Virelle saw the report that should have gone to Erovan's Crown Council. It listed the North Sink hollow cap, the dais ring resonance, the worker mark bracing, and the recommendation for full flame halt. Across the top, stamped in Rethan's private seal, were 4 words. Do not forward crownward. The archive seemed to breathe. Erovan stepped closer. The red light from the ember marks reflected in his molten eyes, and for one moment his face looked carved, not from command, but from the first recognition of how carefully truth had been kept beneath him. Still, his voice did not soften. That is your seal. Rethan inclined his head. My seal was used. Foundation officers act under my authority. Virelle looked at him. Your authority is the point. The ember marks shuddered. A red line ran from the buried warnings to the private seal, from the private seal to the withheld crown report, from the withheld crown report to the beauty report, and from the beauty report back to the scraped foundation. Sequence. Warning filed. Private seal applied. Crown inspection report withheld. Beauty report approved. Worker marks classified as damage. Ember mason marks scraped. The palace groaned again. A black crack opened along the archive threshold. Virelle did not step back. Neither did Erovan. The red warning wrote itself across the inside of the lower foundation archive door. Rethan Brask's private foundation seal locked Virelle's warnings out of crown inspection before the beauty report was approved. Rethan Brask went still. Erovan looked from the private seal to the hollow ring glowing beneath his throne. His voice did not soften. What did my crown never inspect before I was told the foundation was clean? The lower archive door stayed open behind them, breathing cold ash into the throne hall. Inside, Rethan Brask's private foundation seal still burned red over the report that had never reached crown inspection. Outside, the black throne dais glowed with its hollow coronation ring, and the western wall remained bowed away from the throne, like a witness refusing to stand straight for a lie. Dragon King Erovan Kharveth did not look at the nobles. He looked at the withheld report. What did my crown never inspect before I was told the foundation was clean? Rethan bowed slowly. Majesty, crown inspection reviews final readiness. It does not repeat every quarry measure, every understone seating, every craft concern raised during construction. That is why master builders exist. Virelle Cask stood beside the archive threshold, with ember light crawling over the burns in her fingers. There it is, she said. Rethan's eyes moved to her. There what is. The place where trust was made blind. A few nobles drew in sharp breaths, as if blindness were ruder than burying warnings under a throne. Erovan looked at her. Can the marks show what was withheld? She did not soften. Not because she failed to see the fury held in him, not because his dragon shadow had begun standing between her and the court without command, but because he still asked, after the palace had nearly buried workers alive. He still needed the stone to prove what labor had already known. "You ask what Crown Inspection missed now," she said, "because Rethan's private seal locked your eyes outside the foundation." His jaw tightened. He did not apologize. Good. Virelle had no use for regret while the hollow ring kept breathing beneath the throne. She knelt at the archive threshold and placed 2 burned fingers on the red line, running from the withheld report to the polished dais. The ember mason marks flickered, weakly now. Every answer cost them. Every memory pulled from stone loosened one more old brace that had helped the palace survive polished lies. "The marks cannot show every missing page," she said. "They can read weight, fire path, seal touch, and which stone entered the foundation before inspection was invited to look." Rethan folded his hands. "Then let us hope old scratches understand royal procedure." Virelle looked at him. "Old scratches understand weight better than silk does." The first ember mark flared. Crown Inspection omission. The withheld report rose in heat memory, its pages turning without wind. The section marked Foundation Core remained sealed under Rethan's private strip. Quarry ledger. A red line ran from the archive to a lower shelf, marked Stone Receipts. A drawer jerked open. Rolled ledgers slid out across the floor, bound in black cord and dust. The treasurer stepped back as one unfurled. Virelle read the heat before she read the ink. "Royal grade black throne stone ordered." A row of numbers burned red. Delivery weight recorded. The next number glowed. Actual weight received. The ember line stopped. Then, split. The received weight was lower. Not by a cartload, by enough to hollow a ring. Rethan said, "Weight loss occurs through shaping." Virelle looked up. "Before shaping?" The court fell silent. She touched the ledger again. Seating chalk. Red light moved from the quarry ledger to the foundation floor beneath the throne dais. Thin chalk lines appeared in memory, drawn where blocks had been lowered and fitted. Each true black throne stone should have left a deep weight shadow under ember reading. The ring beneath the dais gave almost none. "Shell stone placement," Virelle said. Rethan's face hardened. "That term is not in the ledger." "No," she said. "It is in the floor." The ember marks pulsed around the dais. Beneath the polished black surface, pale hollow cores appeared again, forming a complete ring where deep black stone should have been seated. The top layer had been finished beautifully, too beautifully. Smooth enough for kings, too empty for fire. Erovan's dragon shadow lowered its horned head toward the glowing ring. His voice stayed hard. Was this stone ever shown to Crown Inspection before it was sealed? Virelle pressed her palm to the floor. Pain burned up her arm. The marks answered in order. Quarry ledger discrepancy. The lower weight burned. Private foundation seal. Rethan's seal flared. Core inspection withheld. The missing report section turned red. Surface beauty approved. The polished report from Part 6 glowed beside it. Foundation sealed. The hollow ring under the throne brightened. Rethan stepped forward. "Majesty, Crown Inspection saw the finished foundation and approved appearance. No one hides a stone by finishing it." Virelle looked at the flawless black floor beneath the throne. "You hide it by teaching everyone to praise the finish." The western wall groaned. One of the bronze dragon ribs above the dais twisted a finger's width away from its socket. Dust poured down like black rain. Workers near the stair backed up, not from fear of falling stone, but from memory of what that sound meant below. Erovan saw them move. So did Virelle. The ember marks dragged a red line from the hollow ring to the quarry ledger, from the ledger to the withheld report, from the withheld report to Rethan's private seal, and from that seal back to the beautiful polished floor. Then fire wrote itself across the black throne foundation. Crown Inspection never saw the hollow coronation stone before it was sealed under the throne dais. Rethan Brask went very still. Erovan looked from the false ring beneath his throne to the quarry ledger burning at his feet. His voice did not soften. "Who replaced my black throne stone with a hollow crown facing lie?" Rethan Brask did not answer the word replaced. He answered the word who. "The quarry office," he said. It was clever enough to sound like truth to people who had never stood under a load beam. Blame the distant office. Blame the men who cut stone far from court eyes. Blame road weight, ledger ink, winter transport, anyone whose face was not standing beneath the bending black throne wall. Virelle Cask looked at the hollow coronation ring glowing beneath the dais. The stone did not care how far a lie traveled before it was seated. Dragon King Erovan Kharveth stood near the open archive, his dragon shadow coiled across the polished floor, horned and restless as the western wall bowed another inch away from the throne. The withheld inspection report, the quarry ledger, and the beauty report burned in red sequence at his feet. His voice did not soften. Who replaced my black throne stone with a hollow, crown-facing lie? Rethan bowed. If substitution occurred, Majesty, it occurred before palace delivery. Quarry weights were certified before shipment. Virelle turned toward him. Then the delivery floor should agree. His mouth tightened. There, a small thing. Enough. Erovan saw it too. Read the delivery floor. Virelle did not soften toward him. He was learning where to look now. But learning after damage did not make him innocent of trusting polish over hands. You ask the floor now, she said, because the ledger embarrassed the crown. His jaw tightened. He did not apologize. Good. Apology would not fill hollow stone. Virelle knelt at the edge of the foundation ring. The ember marks pulsed weakly beneath the polished floor, like coals crushed under too much black glass. They had shown buried warnings, sealed reports, missing inspection, and hollow stone. The palace was nearly out of patience. The marks cannot chase every cart road, she said. They can read arrival weight, storage pressure, lift marks, and which watch held the hall when stone changed hands. Rethan's face stilled. Stone changed hands? Virelle looked at him. Your words, almost. She pressed 2 burned fingers to the floor. Delivery weight. The quarry ledger flared again. Then red memory spread outward, beyond parchment, into the foundation floor itself. A line of heavy blocks appeared in heat shadow, true black throne stone, dark through the core, dense enough that even memory seemed to bow under it. The workers near the stair murmured. They knew that weight. Every mason did. Royal grade stone arrived, Virelle said. Erovan's eyes burned brighter. So it reached the palace. Yes, Rethan said. Arrival does not prove placement. No, Virelle said. That is why we keep reading. She dragged her hand toward the west storage mark. Storage pressure. The red memory shifted. The true blocks were set beneath the north foundation arch for curing before seating. Their weight shadows bit deep into the floor, clean and unmistakable. Then the shadows broke. Not faded, lifted. Moved after arrival, Virelle said. Rethan's voice hardened. Foundation stones are often repositioned. Not away from the throne, sink after curing. She touched the next red line. Builder lift. A metal groan rolled through the floor. In heat memory, a chain lift appeared beside the storage arch. Its hook marks burned bright where weight had been raised at night. Not by quarrymen, not by crown inspection. Palace equipment, builder equipment. Erovan looked at Rethan. Whose lift? Rethan bowed. All heavy lifts answer to the builder office. Virelle said, that is not a defense. The ember marks flared around the lift marks. Night watch. The throne hall darkened in memory. Candles burned low. No nobles, no crown inspectors, no worker crew from Virelle's foundation line. Only white-sashed buildermen moving under covered lamps while the true black throne blocks were dragged away from the north sink. A young apprentice near Virelle whispered, we were locked out that night. Rethan snapped, you were dismissed after your shift. The apprentice flinched. Virelle did not. Say it, she told him. He swallowed. The lower crew was told the foundation was under royal silence, no worker marks allowed until morning. Rethan's eyes flashed. An apprentice's memory is not law. Virelle touched the ember line again. Stone memory is. The night watch sharpened. A white gold seal appeared over the builder lift order. Rethan's private foundation seal. The court stopped moving. Erovan's dragon shadow surged forward, then held. The king's discipline was the only thing keeping the beast from becoming flame. Continue, Erovan said. Virelle pressed her palm flat. Pain ran up her arm so sharply her vision whitened. The ember scars on her fingers opened again. Red light crawled under her skin, answering old marks she had carved when no one thanked her for making the palace survive another winter. True stone removed. The heavy black blocks disappeared from the north storage mark. Hollow coronation stone delivered under cover. Pale shell core blocks appeared, polished black on the outside before seating. Crown inspection absent. The withheld report glowed in the archive. Worker crew locked out. The lower crew schedule burned. Foundation ring seated. The hollow ring beneath the throne answered. Virelle's marks added after first strain. Her old ember cuts flared around the ring, bracing the lie after it had already been placed. The hall fell into a silence so complete the foundation groan sounded like breath through a cracked chest. Rethan said, "The palace required speed. Coronation schedules cannot wait on worker hesitation." Virelle looked up at him. "Speed is what men call theft when they are already wearing the sash." His face hardened. Erovan looked at the glowing memory of the true black throne blocks being dragged away. Where did they go? For the first time, Rethan did not answer quickly. Virelle felt the ember marks pull toward the upper procession arch, the beautiful new black arch built above the coronation aisle, polished to mirror shine, praised for making the throne hall look grander during flame ceremony. Her blood went cold. The true foundation stone had not left the palace. It had been moved where eyes would admire it instead of where weight needed it. Virelle turned toward the procession arch. "Display stone," she said. The arch answered in deep red. Not hollow. True. Royal-grade black throne stone had been carved into beauty above the aisle, while hollow shell stone carried the throne below. A noblewoman covered her mouth. One of the old workers whispered, "They put foundation in the crown arch." The western wall cracked louder. The palace understood the insult. So did the dragonfire beneath it. The ember marks dragged a red line from the true stone storage, to the builder lift, to Rethan's private seal, to the hollow ring beneath the dais, and finally up to the shining procession arch above the court. Then fire wrote itself across the arch and the floor at once. Royal-grade black throne stone was removed from the foundation and carved into the coronation arch before hollow stone was seated under the dais. Rethan Brask went still. Erovan looked up at the beautiful arch made from stolen strength. His voice did not soften. "How long before my palace chooses beauty over weight and falls?" The coronation arch cracked first. Not at the top, where nobles would have called it dramatic. At the hidden joint where royal-grade black throne stone had been carved thin for beauty instead of seated deep for weight. A red line opened through the polished curve above the aisle, and the sound that followed made every worker in the hall look down before any noble looked up. Virelle Cask knew that sound. Weight remembering where it should have been. Dragon King Erovan Kharveth stood beneath the cracked arch, with the hollow throne ring burning red under his feet, his dragon shadow drawn tight behind him like a beast forced to choose between rage and restraint. Around the hall, the black throne foundation groaned as if the palace were trying to rise away from its own lie. Rethan Brask finally lost the clean edge of his voice. "Clear the royal family," he ordered. "Seal the throne hall. No one touches the arch." Virelle turned on him. "If the arch is not relieved, the west rib will take the fall." Rethan's eyes flashed. "You are not master builder here." "No," she said. "I am the one whose marks kept your hollow throne standing." The words struck harder because the floor answered. Every scraped ember mason mark burned back through the foundation at once, red and furious, circling the hollow dais ring, climbing the west rib, and reaching up toward the stolen strength in the coronation arch. The palace had stopped whispering. Now it was counting down. Erovan looked at Virelle. "What holds?" She did not soften. Not now. Not with workers still near the lower stair. Not with nobles crowding safe corners while the hands that knew the stone waited for permission to save them. "Nothing holds if we protect the arch because it is beautiful," she said. "The true stone must return weight to the foundation, or the hall will fold toward the worker vault." Rethan stepped between them. "Majesty, dismantling the coronation arch before flamerite will destroy the legitimacy of the ceremony." Virelle looked at the hollow ring. "Leaving it standing will destroy the people beneath it." Erovan's jaw tightened. No apology came. Good. She did not need his sorrow. She needed his crown to stop obeying polish. A deep crack split across the western wall. Dust fell in black sheets. From below, a worker shouted that the lower vault roof was heating again. Virelle moved first. "Workers out of the underribs," she called. "All of them. West stair, not north. Bring core hooks, lift chains, wet ashcloth, and brace pins. No royal family, no nobles. Workers first. The captains looked to Erovan. His molten eyes burned. Do as she says. This time, no one hesitated. Workers rushed. Not servants now. Not background hands. The court watched them take the hall with tools, signals, and knowledge older than every polished report Rethan had signed. Apprentice masons dragged brace pins across the floor. Vault workers carried chains to the arch base. A gray-haired woman with burns on both forearms shouted weight calls that even dragon guards obeyed. Virelle knelt at the hollow throne ring and pressed both scarred hands to the red marks. Pain tore through her arms. She did not cry out. Dais load line, she said. The red line brightened. False ring strain. The hollow stone pulsed weakly. Stolen stone above. The coronation arch answered in deep red. Return route. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ember mason marks changed direction. They no longer circled the throne like wounds. They reached upward like hands. Rethan saw it and lunged toward the builder lift controls. Stop her. If that arch breaks, the coronation hall is ruined. Erovan moved before the guards. His dragon shadow struck the floor between Rethan and the lift chain, a vast horned shape of black gold fire. Rethan froze. Erovan's voice was low. The hall was ruined when you put beauty where weight belonged. The first chain tightened around the cracked coronation arch. Workers braced the west rib. Virelle's burned fingers dug into the foundation. Cut the upper polish, she ordered. A young mason hesitated. It will scar the arch. Virelle looked at him. Good. He struck. The chisel split the polished surface. Red light poured out. Not delicate, not royal. Working light. Foundation light. The true black throne stone inside the arch recognized the ember marks below and answered them. The hall shuddered. The stolen stone did not fall. It lowered. In pieces guided by worker chains, brace calls, and Virelle's ember root, the arch surrendered its strength downward. The hollow ring beneath the dais cracked open as the true stone's weight, memory descended through the marked root. Shellstone split with a dry, shameful sound, revealing empty pockets where dragonfire had been forced to scatter. Nobles backed away. Workers stepped closer. That was the difference. Rithan's face twisted. She is destroying the coronation. Virelle's voice shook, but not from fear. No, I am removing the part that lied. The ember marks flared one final time, dragging truth through every report, seal, ledger, order, and stone memory exposed in the hall. Royal-grade stone arrived. Private seal, moved it. Hollow stone seated under throne. Worker warnings buried. Beauty report approved. Ember marks scraped. Dragonfire pressure redirected. Worker vault endangered. Coronation arch carved from stolen foundation strength. The black throne foundation burned red from wall to wall. Then the final warning wrote itself across the cracked arch and the open dais ring. Master builder, Rethan Brask, removed royal-grade foundation stone for the coronation arch, seated hollow stone under the throne, and scraped Virelle Cask's ember marks to hide the false weight. No one spoke. Rethan looked at the words, then at the Dragon King. Majesty, he said, and for the first time there was no clean report left in his voice. The crown needed beauty, the court needed confidence. Erovan looked at the workers bracing his palace with bleeding hands. No, he said, you needed my eyes above the floor. Guards took Rethan's white gold sash. His private foundation key fell from it and struck the cracked stone with a small, ugly sound. Virelle swayed. Erovan stepped toward her. She lifted one hand before he could touch her. Not yet. The foundation has not seated. He stopped. Then he did what she needed. He turned to the workers. Follow her marks. They did. The true black throne stone settled into the opened ring, not perfectly, not beautifully, but honestly. Virelle guided the ember roots into the raw seams. Workers drove brace pins where her marks flared. The west rib groaned, shifted, and slowly bent back toward the foundation, not toward the throne, but toward the weight beneath it. The palace did not heal clean. It steadied scarred. When the last red crack dimmed to ember, Virelle lowered her hands. The hall looked changed. The coronation arch was broken. The dais was scarred. The polished floor had been cut open in a dozen places where worker marks now glowed faintly beneath black stone. It was the safest the palace had looked all day. Erovan stood before the court, his dragon shadow quiet behind him. "From this day forward," he said, "no royal builder may scrape, cover, move, polish over, or classify worker marks as damage without worker mark witnesses present. Foundation law belongs not only to those who sign reports, but to those whose hands know weight. Crown inspection will receive worker warnings directly. No beauty report will stand above a pressure mark again." The workers did not cheer. They were too tired. But one by one, they lifted their scarred hands. Virelle looked at them and felt something inside her loosen that was not forgiveness. Erovan came to stand before her. His crown still caught the red light of the cracked floor. His armor still carried the heat of dragon blood. He was still the king who had permitted her marks to be erased. But he looked at her hands now, as if they were not shame. As if they were the reason his kingdom still had walls. "I sat on a throne held up by you," he said. Virelle's voice was quiet. "By us." His gaze moved to the workers, then back to her. "By you," he said, "and by every hand my court refused to see." She did not forgive him there. Not beneath a broken arch. Not while Rethan's lies still smoked in the floor. Not while workers coughed black dust from lungs that had been used as a pressure sink. But when Erovan turned from her to order the royal family moved behind the worker line until the Foundation witnesses declared the hall safe, Virelle let herself breathe. The black throne no longer looked flawless. Its scars glowed red beneath the stone. For the first time, the palace was not pretending, and neither was the king.